everybody, this is Strategywizard again, and today I'm going to be doing another video where I basically address the critics on BoardGameGeek.com of a game that I really enjoy. And we'll see if they have some good points, and you'll be able to see, you know, why a lot of people don't like the game and why I think maybe that they're still wrong, or maybe they'll even make some good points. I'll go, you know, that is a good point. Maybe that is a flaw in the game. But the game here is Abyss, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's see what these people say. We're starting at the ones to see the worst case scenario. Now, this game has overall a very high rating. It's a 7.3 average, and there's a lot of 8s. 2.9 thousand 8s. Scores 8 out of 10. So that's the most common, and 7 is 2.3 thousand, and 6 is 1.2 thousand. Those are the most commons, 8 being the most. So that's a good sign that this is a very popular game, but that doesn't mean it's perfect. So let's go ahead and see what these one commenters have to say. This is a light Euro game where the only thing that makes it really interesting is the presence of hidden trackable information, which I don't appreciate. I like the theme of getting seafood friends, even if it's dressed up in medieval fantasy. Why always medieval fantasy? The pearls are a cute touch and are fun to fidget with. Huh. The only thing that makes it really interesting is the presence of hidden trackable information. I don't really know, what does he mean by presence of hidden trackable information? I guess the cards that maybe somebody has, people can remember what cards you've taken off of the exploration track, exploring the depths. But okay, I don't really have anything to say to that because to me there's still plenty more interesting things going on. I don't think that's the only interesting thing, but so be it. This guy says, Candyland plus push your luck mechanism with fish people. Good for an introduction to modern board gaming, but not really my type of thing. Doesn't really release my Kraken. Well, fair enough. But I would, to compare it to Candyland with Push Your Luck, I'd say that's not even remotely fair. But there's a lot more going on here because, like, again, whenever you make your choices, you're trying to think about, is it worth spending a pearl to buy this particular ally from your opponent whenever they're exploring the depths? So you have to decide, is it worth it whenever you're exploring the depths? Do I want to take this 2 or a 3, or do I want to push my luck and hope for a 4 or 5? Do I want, and then with the Kraken expansion, which I know they're not including that here necessarily, that adds even more issues with the wilds and the black pearls. But if you take that out of it, you still have all these things you're thinking about. You know, when do you decide to take a certain card? Do you go all the way to the end to get the pearl? And then who do you buy? Do you try to buy lords that have keys so you can try to end up getting enough keys to get cool locations? Or do you just try to get lords with cool powers and try to use those powers to your advantage? And trying to remember the cards that go into the council that you can take, that's a lot to think about. There's a lot of things going on that you have to decide what's the best way to do this. And paying attention to what's, you know, which sometimes you might take an ally that's not that great with the intention of you need it to be able to buy this particular lord, or you might even use a bunch of 5s, like a 5 of the shells, a 5 of the squids, a 5 of the seahorses, and spend way more resources of allies than you need to buy a lord just so you can guarantee a 5 being held back as an ally at the end of the game for points. So to me, there's a lot of things going on that make it interesting. This guy says, very, very boring. C'est nul. I don't know what that means. That's French, I suppose. But he says it's very boring. I can't argue against that. If he thinks it's boring, he thinks it's boring. Okay, let's see. This is going to be the 2s. There weren't many 1s that commented. This guy says, my wife loves this game. I wanted to enjoy it, but found myself sitting to her left every time we played it. This game annoys me immensely and disproportionately. I think the aesthetics are brilliant, and I find the gameplay abysmal. Well, I guess I don't really see he didn't really say why he didn't like it. So he likes the aesthetics, but he thinks it's not great. Okay, can't argue against that. Somehow this game makes me mad. Okay, I don't know why. This guy says, great artwork, but the game is the opposite of that. There's nothing I like. Instead, I find it extremely annoying to ask each and every player for each and every card one draws, and since you do that 80% of the time, away from that garbage, there's not much left but random elements and a mechanism that relies on giving the next player an open goal. Random elements. I mean, it's random what lords appear. That's true. It's random what cards show up whenever you explore the depths. That's true. But you still, again, in my opinion, and it's random what locations pop up and are available. But and I'll even go as far as to say this. I think this game is a game that's better than the sum of its parts, because in one sense, it's very basic and straightforward. You're pushing your luck at the top, then you're trying, and then the second part for the council is a memory game, trying to remember what was in this stack. Do I want to take it? Is it worth it? And then the other part is trying to be efficient with your money or your allies, and trying to spend your points in a way that's very efficient to get the most points or get the best abilities from your lords that can do really cool things for you. And then the keys are just an element of, how you get your keys, either by fighting, going down the monster track, or by getting lords with keys and trying to decide, do you want to purposely not buy a lord that would give you that third key so you can keep using the powers that you have? I mean, they're all pretty simple, basic ideas that you're doing here, but I think that the sum of the game, there's a lot going on. There's so many different things to think about that it goes above and beyond the sum of those parts. This guy says, boring, the festival of nothing. A push your luck that is not, because most of the time you must obviously take the drawn card. Thus the game plays itself. The most overrated game since ever. Why would it be obvious? I don't think it's ever obvious unless you draw 5, in which case someone's going to buy it from you. More than likely with a pearl. So I don't see why it's obvious ever. I mean, there's probably some cases, but I'd have to disagree there. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and move on up to the 3s. Okay, the only heavy rotation this should get is inside a wood chipper. Okay, your typical Cathala design, pretty and shallow. Get Seasons instead. I haven't played Seasons, so I can't really say anything to that. Would rather play on my phone. That's not a reason to give 3. Played it once and don't remember much about it, which is a telling sign that it's not worth repeated plays. Housemate owns a copy. Played it again, and it's extremely uninteresting in hindsight. Doesn't generate any interest throughout any point of the game. Well, he doesn't give any good reasons, so I can't really argue with him there. That's in French. I can't go there. I have never played a board game and want to quit after 15 minutes of playing until this game came along. I just found the gameplay extremely boring and could not get into it. 3 stars for the great artwork, though. Okay, again, people just think it's bland and boring. Again, I've told you the mechanics in the review. The mechanics are straightforward. I mean, there's no doubt there's not a super intense, complex thing going on here, but you'll know for yourself if simple is a bother to you. I like a lot of simple games, so like Splendor. Splendor is like the epitome of simple. You take gems and then you buy stuff. That's it. I find it enjoyable. This I like because I like push your luck. I like this because I like the memory aspect of trying to remember what's on the board, and I like being able to buy lords and get cool powers. I mean, to me, that's fun. So keep that in mind. Takes too long for the rubbish game it is. I want to see the setting and beautiful artwork taken up and used in a way that actually makes them relevant. Now, I'll agree with that in the sense that, it looks really fancy, and maybe the game isn't just super thematic based on, what the artwork is and everything, but it still fits. I mean, you're exploring the depths, and you're going out and you're finding people to bring back home as an ally, or you're, monsters, or you're fighting monsters, and I know that there's you just win, so that's not very thematic. I'll agree with that. And then you buy lords with your allies. That's somewhat thematic. I mean, a little bit. I mean, I know it's not a ton. I totally understand that, but a really well-produced game, and then you have the pearls that look really nice. It does make you feel like you're bartering, and like you're in this system of, my money is worth something. I'm going to use it to buy or bribe or whatever this ally away from this person. However you want to look at it. To me, there is some theme there, so I don't think it's as bad as they're saying, but so be it. So overrated game. Even the artwork that are considered by many people as gorgeous didn't really get to me. There are many better games with collecting sets of cards to complete something. You don't have to look far to find one. Ticket to Ride series. Big disappointment. Now, I've played Ticket to Ride. I think Ticket to Ride is fun. I would rather play this personally, but part of that's probably the theme. I don't really get into trains at all, so I have Ticket to Ride on the app version, and I've played it several times. I haven't played it in a long time. Abyss is something I would probably... The only reason why I'd ever buy Ticket to Ride, personally for me, is if it was something that I knew that my wife would be really interested in. That would motivate me to do it. But for me, personally, it doesn't drive me anywhere in particular. To me, this game is perfect for what it is, and it's simple. So I don't know if I'd call this a gateway game, but maybe it could be. It's simple enough you might be able to call it a gateway game. And it looks awesome, has a cool thematic design to it, and the pearls are great, and the mechanics are simple. So I don't know why this guy thinks that Ticket to Ride is so much better. I mean, to me, Ticket to Ride is kind of similar in the sense that, similar to what the other guy said, whenever he was mentioning that your choices are somewhat obvious. I think in Ticket to Ride, a lot of the time they're pretty obvious because I guess there's ways in there that you can trick people. That's a possibility in Ticket to Ride, but still, in Abyss, I feel like it's less of a guarantee what the right choice is because you can purposely try to go for the pearl or at the end, or you can purposely pass up on something that's really good with the hope of getting a specific race that you don't know if it's going to come up. When Ticket to Ride, the stuff's pretty much there in front of you. You take a card that's going to help you, or you draw from the stack. Unless I'm remembering it incorrectly, to me, there's more going on with Abyss. This guy says, Troll Face, the board game, is art of the year? I don't get it. While the artwork is technically skilled, it is either disturbingly ugly or whimsically bland. I can't agree with that at all. This has to be the most overrated artwork of any board game I have seen yet. The box covers all have a creepy vibe, and the card artwork is joyless. The only thing I can figure out is board gamers are largely blind to beauty and have a deranged obsession with freakish art. The game itself is just a bunch of components and mechanics jumbled together so the artwork could be sold in a box as a game. I had no idea it was so easy to literally troll gamers like this. Okay, first of all, yeah, I'll agree. I like weird, freaky art. There's no doubt about it. So that appeals to me. I really enjoy the darkness and the not just happy-go-lucky, let's just say Ticket to Ride. I mean, that doesn't really do much for me. I don't care about seeing trains and happy people walking around at a train station. Couldn't care less. But seeing monsters and gloominess and creepiness in the Abyss, yes, that's very much up my alley. I mean, I understand some people don't like it. Some people would prefer a more just happy tone of artwork. That's great, but me, I like the creatures. I like the creepiness. That's wonderful. And as far as they said, it's just a bunch of mechanics jumbled together. To me, what makes the mechanics great and not jumbled together is there's this perfect flow on the board. You explore the depths to get allies. Some allies get thrown into the council that you can later grab a stack, and all that's going to help you go to the bottom of the board, which is to buy the lords, which will then help you get abilities and keys that can help you get locations. There's like this natural path that you go along, and I'll even compare that to Eminent Domains for those who know the game, saw my review or whatever. The Eminent Domain, it's a deck builder game, but in there, the cards that you buy are largely almost always the same. There's another stack of special cards you can buy, but there's basically, you do your survey, and you have warfare, and etc. And there's like a path that you would go down of getting planets and then trying to, do things to settle those planets and then buy better cards over here. That logical progression I like. I like a game that it's like I can choose how I do it. I can build up a lot of stuff and then try to knock it all out at once. Like in the case of this, I can get a bunch of allies and then buy a bunch of lords that, and wait. I can wait for other people to buy lords in the hope that I get more lords that I like. It's great to me. You can then let the council build up and then hoping that no one else is paying too much attention, then try to go in there and nab a really good stack. All those things I think are really cool. So, again, I disagree. I don't think that they're trolling gamers. They're giving gamers great artwork, a game that is relatively simple and yet really fun and engaging. This guy says, what an overhyped, overproduced game. The gameplay is an interesting twist on the auction set collection special ability VP escalation motif, but the end result felt flat and lifeless. And the mechanisms themselves disjointed and loose. In addition, the game suffers from excessive luck of the draw. That seems to get more decisive the more players learn the game. The art is phenomenal, but the game board and cards could use clearer iconography. Really? What in the world iconography is not clear? The pearls and pearl cups hindered more than helped the game. I totally disagree. I find the pearls and the little cups addictive. I like to swirl it around and make that pearl whoosh, almost fly out. I think that's great. This is a mediocre game at best. Will not seek to play it again. I disagree. Again, I think the mechanisms work well together in a nice flow of gameplay. So I don't see where people get that from. Last one that I'll do, this is the last three. Beautiful artwork and nice components. Comes with beautiful plastic pearls that are used as currency. They are not very functional, however, and it's hard to see how much of each pearl people have hiding within the deep clamshell cups in front of them. Be prepared to be asked, how many pearls do you have? A lot. I don't even know why you'd want to know. You see they have a big bunch of them. I mean, why do you need to know how many they have? This game may have been more functional with tokens, but it would have lost some of its charm without the pearls, so it was an interesting and ultimately acceptable design decision. Overall, I was a little bored with this game. The real appeal of the game, oh boy, this guy talks a lot. The real appeal of the game is buying lords with special powers and being able to use those powers to your advantage. Some of the lords have interesting powers, but a lot of the ones that came up in our game were kind of boring. Take 2 pearls. Okay, thanks, I guess. To me, taking 2 pearls is great. I think that's awesome. Some cards are a lot better than others and can screw over your opponents, like the Assassin, who can remove the special power of an opponent's lord. Some have no power at all and are just victory points. My biggest, which to me, that's great. I just have to say, I think that the variety is what makes it exciting. Some are cheap, some are expensive. Some have cool powers, some just have a lot of victory points. Some give you keys, some don't. I think that's great because it gives you options to how you want to go about things. My biggest complaint is keeping track of all the powers and multiplying effects in the game, or potentially in the game. It is just tiresome and not really fun in my opinion. At one point, I had the chance to gain some victory points from monster tokens, so I did. The next turn, someone bought the lord to steal monster tokens and stole the token from me, since I was the only one with tokens at that point. So you have to keep track of not only the half dozen or so lords in play, but also the potential instant effect lords that can be purchased. It can be a lot to remember as you're trying to plan your turns, and also keep track of which cards are going into the council. We had one person who, again, now see, this is a reason why I do think that this is more than Candyland plus Push Your Luck, as a previous person said. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to think about. There's a lot to plan ahead for. And that's a great thing in my opinion. It's not a problem like this guy, in my opinion, like this guy seems to think. We had one person who really took the lead early on since he had played before. There was very little we could do to slow him down or prevent him from getting more powerful. There is quite a bit of luck and pressure luck involved, and if you get the right card draws, you can really snowball and run away with the lead early on. I would play this game again to see some of the other lord powers and try some different strategies, but overall I was not blown away by this or feel the need to go out and own my own copy. It is a beautiful game, and I was hoping for a more enjoyable experience out of it. Okay, he agrees the artwork's nice. Now, he says that you can have a runaway leader. I haven't experienced that, but I'm not going to say that it's not possible. I just haven't experienced it, and I guess if you were just really lucky and somehow, I mean, the reason why I don't see why that would be the case is because other people can buy cards as you're exploring the depths. So if you turn over a 5, they can pay a pearl and get it from you. So right off the bat, they're as good as anything else you could get, generally speaking, apart from this maybe a specific type of ally that you need. So yeah, they had to pay a pearl for it, but they got a 5, which is rare. So if anything, it seems like that's one of the balancing mechanisms, is the fact that, yeah, you could draw a really lucky thing, but someone can pay a pearl to get it from you, and then you may or may not get something that good. But in case you didn't get anything that good, you can go all the way to the end and you'll get a pearl. So it's like it's a self-balancing thing going on, where people, and the fact that, you can, whoever buys the first thing, they pay a pearl. If you have multiple, even more than just 2 players, if the next person wants to buy something from you, they have to pay 2 pearls. So it's kind of like that constant, deal of trying to balance, what is it worth? And to me, it balances itself out very well from my experience. But that is as far as I'm going to go. We went through the 1s, 2s, and 3s. You can see that a lot of people just think it's bland, boring, not a lot going on, except for this guy who thinks that maybe it's too much going on. There's people who complain about the luck aspect, and there's people who think that the artwork is disturbing. So, if those things are issues for you. Me, none of those are. I think some of them are non-issues, and some of them I like the artwork. I think the artwork's great. So you know what you like. Hopefully this was helpful. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up. I'd appreciate that. And subscribe if you want to see more. And I will look forward to seeing y'all on the next one. So take care, everybody.